And people have voiced to me, not all, but there have been several businesses that have said, I just haven't trusted things with what's been going on at the chamber. And I have not tried to dig and get all that information. I want us to move forward. I just know that it's an issue. People don't.
So what are they looking for? Are they just looking for connection,
back to the basics?
community?
Back to the basics is what I want to bring back. Leadership Sumter, Youth Leadership Sumter. These were hallmark programs with the chamber. I was part of Youth Leadership Sumter as a junior in high school, where students are selected from all of the schools. At the time, it was Sumter County, Americus High, and Southland. And I'm still friends with several of those students that went to the other schools to this day.
Welcome to the Americus podcast, where we pursue what it means to become a next level neighbor, creating a place we enjoy with the people we love. I'm your host, John Schroeder, and today I am joined by Mandy Reeves Young. She is a native to Americus, Georgia, whose roots in our community run real deep and now serves as, among other major titles, as the president and chief executive officer of the Sumter County Chamber of Commerce. With a background in community and economic development in the region, Mandy is uniquely positioned to help chart the next chapter for Americus and Sumter County. Mandy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad it worked out.
Absolutely. So I've met Mandy a few different times and, some of the events, and went to the annual chamber meeting. It was really great to get a chance to hear a little bit more about the chamber and where we're hoping to go as a community, but also getting just a chance to hear a little bit of your voice. And so a lot of people know who you are and know who your father is and your mother. But if you wouldn't mind, just kind of for those who may not know you that well, tell us a little bit about Mandy Reeves Young.
Sure. Thanks so much. Well, first of all, I just want to say I love your office location, your studio, right here in downtown Americus. My first job right out of college, and I'll go back and talk a little bit about, growing up here and things. But I was the downtown development director, Main Street manager. I graduated from the University of Georgia on Saturday and started work that following Monday.
Wow.
So it was very quick. I was not even 21 yet. And, it was awesome because I fell in love with that piece of our community. Even just nationally, there's a national Main Street program. I loved the network. I was in that capacity for almost 5 years and love everything I did. So I love that you're in downtown Americus. I used to do commercials and I would say, it's all here in beautiful downtown Americus.
That's right.
People actually still will say to me, are you that downtown Americus girl? And I'm like, well, that was a few years ago. I'm not going to say how many years ago, but it was quite some time.
That's awesome.
But our downtown is beautiful. It's a staple in our community. And, my heart is in so many pieces of this community. So going back, my mom and dad, not from here. They met at Georgia Southwestern. My dad was from Thomaston, Georgia. My mom was from LaGrange, Georgia. Their families both worked in the mills in the respective communities. So they had some things in common, but they met in college, fell in love. And my dad used to describe it as the black hole. It sucks you in and you stay here in Americus. And so they did. My dad, his job, he graduated with a master's degree in business accounting. And my mom also master's degree in education. She taught second grade. She would probably fuss at me if I don't get the exact number right, but a long time, 40 years maybe. She taught at Eastview, which has since been torn down, Cherokee, and Southland. So she, in lots of different respects, she's seen a lot of the youth in Americus. People will still walk up to her and say, Miss Reeves, and they're, she taught them when she was pregnant with me. So I'm telling you, it's a long time ago, which is really cool because my mom and dad, both being educators, I was raised with, you care about people and you care about transforming people's lives. My dad went to work at South Georgia Tech after Altair mobile home industry basically tanked. He was the last sales rep to get, so he took a pay cut and went to South Georgia Tech, the trade school at that time, in 1973, as a business accounting instructor. And he was there for the rest of his career. Worked his way up. He was taught for several years. Then he was the Crisp County campus. He oversaw that, the night program. Then he was the VP of Economic Development for most of what I remember growing up.
Yeah.
So I remember, going out to South Georgia Tech every Christmas party, the employee Christmas parties, and just numerous things. And when the president at that time said he was going to retire, of course, my dad, Sparky, said, I'm going to put my name in, and so that would have been in 2001 is when that first went out. And so he was named president 2002. Should have brushed up on some of this, but he loved South Georgia Tech. It was almost like his other child. I would come home from Athens and he would call and say, where are you? And I would say, well, I'm, right here at Andersonville. And he was like, stop at school. I want to show you what we've done with the Pope Center. So understanding that technical college and those students, as well as the university and what huge organizations, institutions we have right here in this community is such a benefit for Americus and Sumter County. I don't think people realize sometimes, in South Georgia Tech and GSW, the numbers of students in both of the, university and the college, it's pretty remarkable. And so, Dad collaborated with Kendall Blanchard. They had, they did two choices, one great community, and they really showed that you can partner, you can work together. Similar with like city and county, it's the same concept. And I loved seeing that connection. And that's just always been something that's seems like a no-brainer to me. Like, look for reasons to work together, look for reasons to say yes. And so fast forward, graduated, went to school at UGA, loved being up there for 4 years, moved back home as the downtown development director. I interviewed for the job in January. So they held it for me from January until May.
Wow.
So one of the reasons why I probably had to start the Monday after I graduated, but I loved it. I did leave the city to go work at the hospital. I'll be honest, more money, you always think, it was a great experience as well, because I learned a whole nother aspect of our community with healthcare and how that is a huge piece of a community as well. I was actually working for the hospital as customer service director, and then I had just been named the director of physician relations, which is recruitment and retention. That was in end of February, and March the 1st, 2007, the tornado hit.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was the department director. They had just announced that I was going to be physician recruitment and retention, and we had no hospital. So, we had an exodus of about 11 doctors, and it was crazy because, we were scattered all over the place in the community. And I saw the collaboration then with the city and the county, the educational leaders. They would meet once a week. How do we get our community back together? How do we piece it back together? And I know you weren't here at that time, but it was phenomenal to see everybody on the same team, and it was so funny because President Bush flew in, and this was the biggest, disaster following Katrina. So for whatever, he was needing some positive PR type thing. And so when he landed in Americus, he was at the hospital and he said, we need to get the Habitat for Humanity here to come do some things. And it was funny because somebody had not briefed him enough to let him know Habitat for Humanity is the headquarters in Americus, Georgia. So it's pretty cool that we had that right here. But I was, like I said, working at the hospital at the time, and I was able to work with Phoebe, with those partners, because I'll be honest, we were not going to have a hospital. So I was also named the Recovery Coordinator Liaison, Physician Relations Director, Customer Service Director. I was in touch with our lobbyists. It was many hats that I was wearing, but I enjoyed it. Ended up also being the Director of Medical Staff Affairs, credentialing doctors, and it was a lot. I had a 3.5-year-old, found out I was pregnant with our second daughter, so it was like, okay, what are we going to do here? And I really did not want to travel back and forth between Americus and Albany. And my good friend, who I worked with the city back when I was Main Street manager, Angela Davis, who is now, she lives in Albany. She called me and she said, got something to tell you. So I called her back. I said, either you're pregnant or you're leaving the city. She said, I'm leaving the city. I'm taking a job at Albany Tech. You maybe should apply to be the Community and Economic Development Director. I said, well, I'll think about it. So, again, God's timing. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Applied, and I got that position. So I was back at the city, which was home to me. I mean,
Yeah.
it was my first job, and I was excited to be back. So that would fast forward. I left in the city in 2005, and then went back in 2009, basically. So,
well, it seems like you have a huge amount of drive, passion, discipline. I'm curious, where did that come from? I mean, just growing up, was that your personality growing up? Did you kind of walk into that?
Sure. So my dad used to love to tell people, she looks like her mama, but she acts like me. So Sparky and, and just dad always instilled in my brothers and I, like look for the positive and, every day is special. And,
what were you in the order of siblings? Were you the
I'm the middle child, but I'm the only girl.
Okay.
So,
what were the age ranges? Were you
so my older
close?
brother is 4 years older than me. Younger brother is 6 years younger than me. So, so 10 between my brothers, and older brother's 4 and younger brother's 6. I'm close to both of them.
Were you also competitive? Do you guys were you into sports?
Oh yeah.
What were you doing as a kid? Like what was it like to be Mandy growing up?
Gotcha. Yeah. So I, of course, I played softball. I ran track. I was a cheerleader. In fact, had a partial cheerleading scholarship to college, but a little bit different cheering in a small community, not having the whole gymnastics opportunity, stunning with guys. I loved it, but I quickly learned, it's difficult when you don't have some of those resources. And so I'm a sports girl through and through. To this day, I do fantasy football. I mean, I do all the things. Yeah. My husband played college baseball. Unfortunately, I never had an opportunity to see him play. He'd had rotator cuff surgery right before we met, because I would have been, that diehard girlfriend and supporter. But we actually, we are very active with GSW athletics. My husband was on the GSW Foundation for several years. He's very involved in the athletic department. In fact, a lot of people think that he's like the silent assistant athletic director, which he's not. He just loves it. And we met there. That's where he and I met. So GSW has a special place in our hearts. My mom and dad met there. My husband and I met there. In fact, that's where he proposed, so all the things.
So did you always want to get into some of these fields that you're in today, or what were you going for?
So actually sports broadcasting is what I was initially thinking, I wanted to do. And I met with analysts and they were like, well, you talk too fast and too Southern. And I'm like, well, that's kind of an oxymoron, but okay. And it, I would have loved doing that. But I also, at the time, 25 years ago, they said, really you have to choose either career or family, and you have to be okay living in, no name city, Utah, announcing a hockey game or whatever. And not that I wouldn't enjoy that, but it's not like I was going to be right there on the sideline at an SEC game or, NFL or a baseball game. So it works out the way it's supposed to. And
I'm curious too, because we talked a little bit earlier too, just about not necessarily capacity, but just understanding your limitations. Like it seems like to me that you are very aware of what you're not only capable of, but how much you want to take on, and you're able to say no, even to good opportunities potentially, to be able to say, I don't think that's me. Like, where does that come from? Because you're so driven. How are you so aware of that? That's just very curious to me. I think that's a great quality.
I mean, but having that self-awareness, of course, I feel like, is something that is God-given for sure. And there are some times that I do stretch myself too thin, and I definitely, I want to please everyone, but I also know, like, if I can't do it well, what's the point, But I'm also very transparent in saying, and I'll probably elaborate further, but, things with the chamber, it's been difficult because it is rebuilding right now. And yes, there are not lots of things going on because we've got to get things back in order, get things back on track. But back to your question, being self-aware and just understanding that I can only do so much. And it's not always easy. I mean, for sure. Collaboration, when I worked for the city as the Community and Economic Development Director, I interfaced with the Chamber, with the Payroll Development Authority, and South Georgia Tech's Economic Development Department. And then GSW also, I actually started an initiative called Bridging Campus to Community, BCC. So it's kind of our brainchild. I worked on it lots. I really made a focus on the college town efforts when I was at the city as community and economic development director. We had college band parties. We had like 600 people, at these band parties at Ladies Market, really trying to embrace that whole college town aspect. And, I will say things were really like going, and the opportunity for me to go work with this housing development company kind of fell in my lap, and I wasn't looking to leave the city at all, but I decided to give it a shot, and it was obviously worth it. I learned so much about housing across the state, the country, and then communities, which is what I continue to work with. And I understand things from a community perspective, also from a housing developer's perspective. And then even my little bit of my healthcare experience has proven to be very beneficial in the whole community realm. So,
well, it seems to me that you have a balance between getting tasks done and recognizing that the task is really to serve the person or people. So that, normally you're kind of either a people person and you're not really getting tasks done, or you're a task person and you're just blowing through people, so it seems like you've got a good understanding of, we need both. We have to get things done, but we're going to get them done through people, and we need to take care of people. So where does that come from?
So my husband and I were fortunate enough to be members of Leadership Georgia in 2007. It's a very competitive application process, and the program, there's applicants, and then it automatically includes your spouse if you're selected. So I was the applicant in 2007. That's when I was working at the hospital. Applicants from all over the state of Georgia. I don't even know how many applications they get each year, but it's very competitive. And, for that year, I probably fit a profile. We were the youngest couple in our Leadership Georgia class. Ryan, my husband, being from Ocilla, Georgia, Irwin County, that was a cool dynamic. Just a lot of the things fell into place. And so the very first program with Leadership Georgia, which is also kind of it spins off with Leadership Sumter, Leadership Albany Community. So I'll get to that in a minute. They did a emergenetics profile for every participant in our class. And it's looking at your brain and the way your thinking attributes and your behavioral attributes and how you function each day. So it's kind of like Myers-Briggs, basically. So it's a long process. I even created my own template. I did it on all my employees when I went, when I was at the city. And I still analyze people all the time with emergenetics. But I am red-green, which means that I kind of, not conflict, but my descriptive is, I'd love to do the experience with you, but make an appointment first. Which is very indicative of how I am. I mean, I'm a people person. I'm that person who has a list of all the things that, I need to do. And then I get busy talking to someone and I leave my list. So, it's a balance. Absolutely. And I do have to really sometimes tell myself okay, stay on task. And
well, it seems to me, again, you have a great skill set, personality. I know why Americus would want you to be here right after college. Come back, be involved in X, Y, and Z. But what about Americus that drew you back just on a personal level, outside of people saying, you could go anywhere and do these things?
Right.
Why Americus?
And, John, I have, in the past, there have been people who've said to me, why are you in Americus? You could do things elsewhere. And I'm like, I love what I'm doing. I mean, I love this community. And my mom and dad, again, not from here. So it's not like, they were here, but it's home to me. And my husband had an opportunity to go run a bank elsewhere, and he didn't even ask me about it. He told him no, because he obviously, is respectful and knows how much I loved my positions and the community. And, it was just never a question about not coming home. Once I found out the downtown development director, Main Street manager, it was the perfect first job ever. I was president of my sorority when I was at UGA. And so I had already learned some of the, how do you balance, running an organization and the Main Street program is a national format. So going to national Main Street conventions every year, interfacing with communities like Americus, but in, Idaho or wherever else. You learn from everyone. I love the networking. And I remember my dad doing all that with like GEDA, Georgia Economic Development Association. And so it's been really cool because it really starts to apply in multiple capacities.
That's right.
And I don't know, it's just really...
Well, how do you describe Americus to others that are saying, where are you from? Like when you say Americus, they say,
and I'm always trying to get people to live here.
They always say America. You're like, yes, America, but Americas.
Yes, they say, I'm America. I love America too. No, Americus.
Yeah. So how do you describe it to people?
I oftentimes I'll say, it's Southwest Georgia. Of course, I give, some credit to former President Jimmy Carter. People are like, and then several years ago, I would always say it's international headquarters for Habitat for Humanity. We kind of hit on those key things.
Yeah.
And, I would say people just come visit. We have a beautiful historic district. And, you find more and more people who come here and they fall in love with it and they stay here.
Yeah.
We live right in the middle of town, right off of Lee Street. Their house across the street from us had been vacant. Probably 8 or 9 years, and someone bought it. It needed a lot of work, and I think that's why it sat on the market for so long. But really prime location, right off of Rose Avenue. And the man who purchased it, we of course go over. We're friendly.
Yep.
Hey, we're the Youngs, and he bought the house sight unseen. Lives in Florida. Once the hurricane that went through there last year, he lived in. Was it Clearwater? No, hold on, let me think. Anyway, but he is like, everybody is so friendly here. And I'm like,
that's great.
And I hope he's going to move permanently, but he wanted to have a spot where out of the hurricane alley per se, but of course I didn't tell him, well, we sometimes will get bad weather here as well, but that just like warms my heart, and people. It is. People love Americus and, the thought of like moving away,
Yeah. Well, it does. It's something that I've come into over the last 3 years, and I have felt this draw. And coming from different places, I lived in a couple of different places, military family, so we moved around a lot. And there is something special. There is something unique here that I can't wait to continue to see. Really, just express itself more visibly of what we can see, and so. But this kind of brings into even where you're at currently right now. So we talked a little bit about different positions that you've been in, but like
so
as far as today, so you're doing things still with housing development, but you've also taken on a new position with the chamber, right? So it used to be was it Sumter Americus or Americus Sumter?
It was the Americus Sumter County Chamber of Commerce,
and now it's just
Sumter County Chamber of Commerce. That was not. It wasn't my a suggestion. It was something that was already in process, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, just
so
because
you're working right now in housing, and all of a sudden you get a call.
So actually, no. So I was in housing development. Had worked in that capacity for 11 years. I enjoyed what I did, but I had actually talked with my dad a little bit about starting my own business. I had some other housing developers who told me, Mandy, you need to just like go out on your own and do this. Like you understand communities so well because of your government experience. Yeah. And they were like, you should do this on your own and you could do well with it. And I was like, so I said something to my husband. He was like, Mandy, you've got, retirement, you've got, benefits. And I'm like, well, I don't know, so I talked to my dad and he was like, Amanda, I think maybe you should think about it. And so sadly, I didn't leave the company and start my business until after my dad passed away. My dad passed away in August. And literally the month after is when I made the decision to start my own company.
Yeah.
So Georgia Community Works is the name of it. And my tagline is bringing spark to every community. Kind of a nod to my dad. And not everybody knows that and I'll share it. But, it's so important to me that we continue to, grow our communities, grow them, not just by population, but grow the people, grow the
healthy communities.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I understand that every community faces its challenges, and I will definitely, share things that we've experienced here in Americus. And even when I worked at the city of Americus, I had just taken the position with the house as the acquisitions manager and I received a phone call from like FBI, GBI about some malfeasance that went on, with Public Works Department. And, I got along great with the Public Works Director. He was a friend of mine. And, they asked me questions. Did you think anything was going on? I said, I had no idea, and it made me sad. I hated it for the city.
Yeah.
I hated that I knew it was going to be a setback, and so, and once I left my position, the guy who was my assistant community development director, Ben Andrews, I have to give him a shout out, who's a fantastic guy, graduated from Georgia Tech, moved back here as well. He's about 6 years younger than me. We were a great team. And, I really thought that he would get my old position. And for whatever reason, he did not. And sadly, he moved to Atlanta, but he and I stay in touch. He loves Americus still. But things kind of stagnated in the community and economic development department at that time. So when I left in 2012. 2013.
Okay.
Yep. And so I continued to stay as the chairman of the Americus Sumter GIC team, which stands for Georgia Initiative for Community Housing. It was a program that, in my position at the City of Americus, we applied to get in the program. It's a very competitive process. Only 5 communities are allowed in every year. It's been around for 20 years now. So we were accepted in 2010. So Americus has been part of the GIC program for a long time, 15 years. And I've been the chairman of that the entire time. So you go through a 3-year program as a participant, and then you become an alumni. And I have maintained the Americus Sumter GIC alumni certification and status since.
Yeah.
My own dime, because I care about the community. And it also allows our city and our county to be able to apply for CDBG grants every year.
Yeah, that's
CHIP
a big deal.
So there's a lot of benefits. And, I, of course, made sure that the mayor at the time when I left, Mayor Blunt, I said, hey, I'm going to keep this up because it's very necessary. And, he was like, it sounds great, you know, and I would keep people abreast. And there were a lot of changes at the city, new city managers. And I would try to sit down with them and give them a heads up. There were some that were like, I don't have time for that, which I appreciated. And I said, well, I'm continuing to be a part of this. So just know that I'm taking care of Americus in Sumter County with the GIC program. Yeah. And so fast forward, when Lee Kinnaman became the mayor, he and I have known each other for several years. He actually sat on the excursion train board when I worked in my positions at the city. So we met back then. And so, we knew each other. I was excited when he, became mayor because I know his passion for Americus and the history piece, which I love the history. I mean, the historic stuff is, love it. But I was meeting with him in, I guess it was June or July of last year. I have to think about it. And we were talking about GIC stuff. And I was telling him look, I really need Deidre to, kind of introduce me to these new people in the department because we've got to get more city involvement with our GIC team. Because we were really, I had like 4 people, so thankfully we were meeting the minimum requirements, but I knew that we needed to get the city back on board in a more pronounced way. And so, Mayor Kinnaman said, sure, I'll reach out to Deidre. And then he said, well, Mandy, what do you think about like One Sumter? And, you would be great at that. And I said, nah, I'm starting my own business. I've got my business going. I'm finally able to work, able to get after it. And, and he said, well, One Sumter's looking for a position. I said, no. And then he said, there may be some talk about like dissolving the chamber. And John, like my heart sank. I said, what? Dissolving the chamber? No way. We have to have a chamber. He was like, well, we've got the, you've got the PDA, the Payroll Development Authority, and Rusty's doing great stuff here. You've got One Sumter, they're doing things. You've got South Georgia Tech doing economic development, and the city, when I worked there, community and economic development director, but they took that economic development piece out when I left. So they have not put that back in the city, which is fine. But the city we were doing great things, and we all knew our roles. The chamber had their role. I knew what my lane was, so we were working together, collaborating, and then lots of changes happened. And so I do think that the chamber has really had been struggling for years and years, but you have to have a chamber of commerce in your community. end of story. And I remember like going home, and I was telling my husband about it. And he was like, Mandy, you've just started. I said, I don't even know what the plan is. And the mayor didn't have a lot of details. He just said, the current president at the time, last year, he said, I think she's going to leave, but I don't know what kind of financial situation the chamber's in. I think it's not as great as it could be. So it was very vague, some of the information. Again, though, my heart was like, we have to have a chamber. So that's where my interest, that's what sparked my interest in that, I knew I could, if it was possible, I wanted to be able to do both. And so when I, sent in my resume, my interest in December of last year, and I was very, very transparent and said, look, I want, it to be contracted through my company. I do not want to be a chamber employee because I have obligations with my Georgia community work stuff. Yeah. They overlap in a good way. I mean, it circles. I understand, that I can't do both jobs 100%, but yes, I can. For instance,
in the traditional sense, let's say.
Right. And I think sometimes people are like, well, how are you doing both of them? I'm able to, I promise. In fact, the GIC program, I sit on the state board for the GIC program. And so we screen the applicants each year. Murray County was one of our communities that we accepted into the program. And their GIC team director is the Chamber of Commerce director. So you see, there you go, right there. Yeah. I have called him. He has shared information. He has been phenomenal. And they're far enough away where it's not like, ooh, it's competition. Murray County, way North Georgia. Yeah. So again, it's who you know. And I told the selection committee, which is way more people than just the chamber board. So you coming back into this space, especially with the chamber, in a sense, I mean, again, you've always just kind of been around, but kind of stepping from role to role, coming back in. Where would you say? Where do you think are the gaps in the years that you've been gone in that particular role? Coming back in, where does the chamber need to be right now? And John, that's where it is difficult for me because when I interviewed, I literally provided like 18 pages of programs and initiatives and things that I am so excited about the chamber doing. I did not know the financial situation. Obviously, Carlisle Walton, chairman of the board currently, he did tell me, hey, look, Mandy, there's some financial concerns. We've got some issues. We're not in great financial shape. But we want to do what we can to, keep the chamber going. And so they did share that with me. I did not realize how bad it was until I got in, and they didn't either. My board does not either. I mean, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but I will tell you, there's a lot we're having to work through. It's been challenging every day. Not as challenging each day. I mean, there were literally things that I would find daily. I still do not have access to the phone. I mean, I don't want to lose our chamber number, the 229-924-2646, but I can't access voicemails. So I've gotten a quote from Pineland. I mean, so that's just one thing. And then our website and our Facebook page. And yes, I know that I don't have access to a lot of these things. Yeah. So and like you said, I mean, there's several things, even not just with the chamber, but even with city. I mean, with the city manager and all the transitions that have happened, honestly, over the last 5 to 7 years. But it's an opportunity, John. It really is. It really is. And so it seems like there's trying to be hey, are we all on the same page here? Absolutely. We have a new county manager. Yeah. So you felt like when you left those positions, they were more together, cohesive, collaborative, and then somehow it kind of broke into silos. And so now you're coming back and going, hey, where's the collaboration? We're all saying we're doing things. We all care about the same things. We all see the same needs. But for some reason, there's not a process that says when someone makes a call, we can get them all the way through that process. And the thing is like, I don't care who gets the credit. I just want what's best for our community. Yeah. And there are some people who still, I get people are territorial, but we've got to put that aside, check it at the door. Yeah. And how can we make this happen? I mean, and I know I'm making it very simplistic with me saying that, but we can work together. And again, like, I don't want anybody else's job. I want what's best for Americus in Sumter County,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
And
That's right. Well, and I know over the last few years, there have been some new businesses that have started in downtown, and there's
K1 is great.
Yeah,
he was an intern with me.
Yeah, and so there's definitely some movement coming in. So I would assume as you've taken this specific role within the chamber, that you are making these connections, going, oh, what is the heartbeat of our city? Like, what does our city actually need? There are other cities that are kind of in our same kind of culture or dynamics, but there's obviously specific things that we need to address that other cities don't necessarily have to address right now, or if they're in a different stage. So as you're kind of stepping into that role, what's kind of the voice that you're hearing from businesses and citizens that says, hey, Mandy, listen, I want to make sure our voices are being heard, and you're being able to collect that so that you can get on the same page with other things that are going on.
So John, the biggest thing right now is businesses, our membership is not dismal, but it is definitely not at 300 strong, which is what it was at one time. I mean, there's over 100, thankfully, but there were only about 50 or 60 last year, which is very scary. I mean, you have to have chamber memberships.
Yeah.
And people have voiced to me, not all, but there have been several businesses that have said, I just haven't trusted things with what's been going on at the chamber. And I have not tried to dig and get all that information. I want us to move forward. I just know that it's an issue. People don't.
So what are they looking for? Are they just looking for connection,
back to the basics
community?
Back to the basics is what I want to bring back.
Yeah.
Leadership Sumter, Youth Leadership Sumter. These were hallmark programs with the chamber. I was part of Youth Leadership Sumter as a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Where students are selected from all the schools. At the time, it was Sumter County, Americus High, and Southland. Okay. And I'm still friends with several of those students that went to the other schools to this day. I mean, David Stinchcomb and I are in this, we graduated together. We both went to Southland. He has a business. Yeah. After hours, they had not been chamber members for several years because he just said, Mandy, we just didn't see the benefit. And so I called him and I said, hey, just want to give you a heads up. I'm stepping into the CEO president role at the chamber, but I'm not trying to do a big come and meet me and all this kind of stuff, because right now we got to get things back. We got to get the house in order, And so there were some people that said, why haven't they made a big announcement? And I'm like, well, because, we've got to see if we're sustainable. I mean, and I didn't want the chamber to waste money on a meet and greet. Like, let's try to get it. So that's my thing. I mean, I'll sit in my office with the lights off sometimes. I'm trying to do everything I can to, I'm pinching pennies like no other. Yeah. But anyway, back to David. He and I were in youth leadership, Sumter together. We went on to, all the rest of us young ambassador program. And I know, John, you're probably like, what are you talking about? But Youth Leadership Sumter is very much the same as a Leadership Sumter program. Businesses send one of their employees, usually a class of about 25 each year. There's like 5 programs, and I'm working on some details right now, but you all come together once every 2 months, I think, and you learn about different things in the community, like government. You learn about the healthcare piece. You learn about educational systems. You learn about business and industry, small businesses. And these people become more than just, somebody you actually stay connected.
Informed citizens, right?
And then you become more involved in the chamber. You go to more ribbon cuttings and you go to the ambassador connection things. And that's, those are my first memories of the chamber. In Youth Leadership Sumter, as a junior in high school, we toured that Rylander Theater when it was completely just awful. It was, the plans to renovate it were just starting. So when I was off at college at UGA, I remember coming home and I can't remember who said something about, hey, we can go down and look at the Rylander. I mean, so wow, it's amazing. So I went from Youth Leadership Sumter, touring a really awful looking Rylander Theater to coming back as the downtown development director, getting to host the Georgia Downtown Association Conference. You know, I don't know. So these things are near and dear to my heart.
So part of your goal is just kind of stepping in.
Absolutely.
Saying,
that's what I want to bring back, John.
Let's figure out what businesses are current right now.
So I'm working on
and why are they not in the chamber? And there's probably some valid things of why.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's just the fact that they were emailing trying to say, hey, how do we stay involved?
And they may still, I have a new email address. So I've established that.
So what would be just kind of, and again, I mean, you know, people need to make these decisions for the investment of our future for our community. But what would be just kind of a general pitch to say, hey, listen, this is what the chamber's doing right now.
So the chamber is the voice of the businesses in the community, okay? But there's other things the chamber does as well. But like Chris Clark said at our annual meeting, the chamber is not the Christmas parade organizer. The chamber is not the festival organizer. Yes, we want to be a part of these things, but it's more than being the cheerleader, you know. And he said, you know, people don't like to hear him say that. I get it. You know, I want to bring maybe some lunch and learn programs to our businesses about how is AI going to affect my business moving forward. There has to be some benefit to businesses. Individuals can be members of the chamber as well. My older brother is the president of Parker's Heating and Air, and they have continued to be chamber members. And, you know, they're one of like not platinum, but close to platinum level chamber members. And, you know, I called him and I said, you know, Kevin, do you do much with the chamber? He was like, no. But he said, but we're going to be a part of the chamber. You want to be a part of the chamber, you know, but I want to bring back some really like solid programs and initiatives. Even just the decals that go on the doors of the businesses, John, like those had not been distributed since like 2021. And
there was a business that was
one of the first things I did.
There was a business that was here for a couple of years and they stepped out of the chamber. And I was just kind of asking, you know, hey, you know, are you going to come to the chamber? And the basic response was, no.
I don't get anything out of it.
He says, the only time I ever hear from the chamber is when they want money.
Right.
He's like, I'm not here for that. I'm here to be a part of the community. But if the chamber only wants me for my money, but doesn't do anything for me, it's not benefiting us as a company. And so just trying to figure out, again, being clear on what the chamber is, what the chamber's doing, what the future of that helps to kind of build that confidence again. Because it's going to take a little bit of time.
It will to rebuild. And I mean, just like, you know, I didn't want to have a meet and greet because I didn't see that as being hugely beneficial because at the time, in end of April, in the summertime, I wasn't confident I was going to be able to tell people, hey, we're going to do some great things because I was very uncertain. I mean, and still, you know, the financial piece, I needed to move through an entire calendar year to see what the financial situation is. I mean, like, you know, something just hit our bank account that I was unaware of. I'm not going to go into the weeds on it, but
whether it's a subscription or something like that, something that's always happening. And so, like, you just don't know it's there.
I canceled lots of things, but like, we had a copying machine. I don't mind sharing this. Somebody signed a lease on it. Not me. The board had no idea. Collections agency sent a letter, called. They got my number.
Yep.
We had to pay it in full. You know, $7,000 is definitely not something that the chamber had this summer but
just to throw away like
you know,
that.
And it was so unfortunate, but like, you know, it's, you know, behind door number 3, as my husband sometimes will say, you know, so that's been very unnerving for me because I'm like, oh, you know, what is there something else out there? I mean, there was a leadership program. I had no idea. One of the previous staffers had signed something, but the board did not know.
Yeah. So as you're reaching out to businesses, individuals, talking about the chamber again, trying to get everybody on the same page, what are some misconceptions about the chamber that people may be frustrated about? And you're saying, hey, those are true frustrations. That's just not what the chamber does.
Right. So, you know, a pretty large complaint that I've heard some businesses voice is that the chamber makes us pay for everything. And I do want to move away from some of that, but like, you know, the annual meeting, it was a discounted rate for chamber members because we had, you know, the food. I wasn't trying, I mean, I'm saying as a chamber, it wasn't to try to make money, but I think in the past years, I'm not saying any specific years, but there have been some efforts where they were trying to make more money. And I think that really kind of it was not received well. And then there were lots of events. This is feedback that I've received. It's not it's just what I've been told. The chamber would have multiple events, like, you know, the calendar would look full of things, but then just horribly, not horribly, but just not implemented, not done well at all. So the attendance would be dismal, and there was all this expense bringing in outside vendors. And so just numerous things that, as I get the feedback, I'm like, no, we're not doing that. So I want to do a couple of things well, and then we can continue to build. And that's the only way it's gonna work, is that, small steps. And I had 18 pages of great ideas and things that I was really like gung-ho about, but it's not realistic right now.
There are some things that like there needs to be moments like even as a church, we're going to do like a volunteer Thanksgiving dinner. We're just going to love on our volunteers, people that just show up, just kind of let them know how much we appreciate them. Right. And so even as a chamber, you want to do events like that, but you're also struggling with this tension of, well, these businesses are struggling. They're trying to figure out day-to-day operations. Right. How are they getting connected to the larger scope of the city, trying to follow through with all these different things, trying to go through the city and, the chamber and all this kind of stuff. And they're really, really struggling. They want to talk to somebody. Well, and then you have a bunch of people just getting awards and they're going, that's great. We need to do that. But we need to be talking about how we actually build on some of these things instead of just getting together and celebrating. Because I don't feel like I can celebrate right now as a business.
Right.
So they're trying to enjoy the moment, but also say, what are we celebrating?
Well, and I guess some of it's an innate quality, I guess, just that I've, cultivated and born with, being a connector. And the chamber does serve in that capacity, bringing the city, the counties, and that includes, Leslie, DeSoto, Plains. We've all got to be there together and talk about things. And then sometimes, we have to really not say, split out into separate groups, but sometimes the chamber can be that voice and say, hey, look, I think you're not seeing it from this angle. Maybe just be a little bit more receptive. And, it's a challenge. I mean, it's, but I also see it as an opportunity and I enjoy that, and I also, when it's an elected official or if it's a staff member who's really just putting the brakes on things, it does get very frustrating. Yeah. And, I think that's how sometimes departments just really start to, I don't know. I mean, collapse. I don't know if that's the right word, but.
So when businesses are trying to, again, coming alongside of the chamber and saying, we want to make sure that we have a voice and that voice is the chamber, right? Is that kind of a general sense of advocacy, like coming alongside of you, making sure, just for clarity's sake, because we can kind of get in the weeds of like, well, like you said, they're not cheerleaders, but they're also not responsible for certain things. Like, so does a business come to the chamber and say, I have these issues. What issues should they come to you as a chamber and how you guys can?
So in a nutshell, the Chamber of Commerce, we're the voice of business in Sumter County. Our mission is to strengthen the economy, connect businesses, and foster growth. And that's very broad. Yeah. And the vision is having a thriving, connected community for all. And members, businesses, industries, nonprofits, healthcare, educational individuals. I am a member of the chamber. Georgia Community Works is a member of the chamber, and so, and it's reaching out to some of these businesses, that have just opened, like Aldi.
Yeah.
Back in the day, the chamber was the one who was having those ribbon cuttings. And there was a city representative there, a county representative there. And if it was a business in downtown Americus, the chamber was still kind of the lead entity. Yeah. And this is also when the chamber had about 7 or 8 staff members. It's me, John.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I want to be transparent about that too.
So is the chamber, just for clarity, is it for old and new business or just current businesses?
Old and new. And
sometimes they separate. They say, well, we're only going to be for existing businesses. We're not here necessarily to advocate for new businesses.
No, in fact, so I just finished up with a call with a company that's doing our community visitor guide, community guide. They did it last year. It's called 365 Total Degree Marketing. It's the longest email address ever. But they had a little heartburn with some of the experience they had the past couple of years, just getting connected with businesses, some misinformation from both the chamber side and, maybe from the company side, but I wanted to make sure that we understood each other. And so we have our game plan. So they're updating our business and community guide, visitor guide. So it's going to have a new look. And chamber members will get a discounted rate to advertise in this. Because, John, I'm from I just think you've got to do what's best for the community. Just putting chamber businesses in that community guide is not doing what's best for our Sumter County. So, there are some chambers who they very much against, like, you're going to feature somebody who's not a chamber member in this piece. Well, I think, yes.
Yeah.
The chamber member gets a discounted rate, but
yeah.
So those are some of the things. It's little, but, I'm trying to help these people, these marketing, hey, these are the businesses you need to make sure and go and hit. Yeah. And they were like, we didn't have anybody giving us this direction, or whatever.
Absolutely.
So,
well, and I know things like, again, this is where it kind of comes in, where everyone's kind of trying to work together. But especially businesses downtown, you hear all the same stuff. I mean, it's like, well, we want our businesses to thrive downtown. There's some things that we need to do as far as code enforcement infrastructure. There are things that we want when people to come downtown. It needs to look amazing. It needs to feel beautiful. And I'm trying to run a business downtown. It feels like it's falling apart. So, but again, that's where the city gets involved. Like, well, I mean, they're public works. Like, that's not y'all's job, but it's part of what you're saying is we're going to be an advocate for that. Absolutely. To say, hey guys, this is serious.
Like, and it's having the chamber say to these elected officials, hey, you guys really need to pay attention to this issue. Your downtown businesses. I mean, of course, I know some of our infrastructure, water, it's old in this community and it worries me, but those are the things in downtown, especially, if there's a water main break, it's. Do
you feel like at this point, again, I know you're still coming in, but as far as this point is concerned, do you feel like, I know there's a lot of changes with the city and actually it's election night right now. So
that's right.
There's a lot of things that are going on, right? Do you have, obviously we always have hope that things are going to continue to grow and thrive, but do you see that this voice is going to get stronger, or do you feel like, again, that the city is just going to kind of try to work through that and take a little bit longer than businesses
expect? The fact that there are, contested races, that there are multiple people running, means that we have a community that is alive. It is not dead. Yeah. So, that's encouraging to me. I remember when I was the downtown development director, businesses would call and say, somebody's parking right in front of my, blah, 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 blah. I don't have a parking spot. I'm like, you know what? I am so glad that parking is a problem. That's a good thing. Yeah. So I really, people, they get used to their, things being a certain way, but change is good. Yeah. And I remember my daddy telling me, if there's one thing in life that is certain, is that there is going to be change. Yeah. Experienced it with the tornado. I mean, it's just, and
absolutely.
You have to,
whether you're ready for it or not.
How do you wrap your head around that? But I'm excited. I'm energized about the fact that it's election. There's going to be new people. There's new energy. And if the incumbents win, great. But I think that it kind of gives them a renewed purpose. I'm excited about it. Well, I can work with anybody. I mean, and I think that it's important that we all look at it from that perspective.
Yeah. And I think too, one of the things that, people continue to say, or whether it's with the city or even with the chamber, it's like, hey, we want to get to a place where we understand that we're a small town, we're growing, we're changing, we're trying to do certain things. But there's also this sense where you don't know everything. You feel like you should know more. And whether that's because there's lack of transparency or accountability, you begin to create gaps in communication, and people don't know what to do with gaps. And normally what happens are
they create their own narrative.
That's right. And so I've seen that. I've noticed that
where people are with the chamber.
Yeah. And so people start doing their own study and they're saying, well, why aren't we saying this? And even if it is true, maybe the narrative, the story with that particular, whatever it's financial or whatever, now begins to build. And now we have a community that is kind of at war on the internet with what's going on. And again, businesses see this that want to come in.
I know.
And they're just like, I'm not interested in coming into a society.
It's crippling us.
So how do we fix that? How do we fix that?
Well, when people are on social media, it's easy to say whatever, they can hide behind that. Our Sumter Strong team has talked about this at length. And, I think that we just have to, the leadership has to continue to push the positives and not give that a whole lot of energy. I mean, not dismissing it, but not responding to certain things, don't give it life. I mean, it's sometimes people don't understand the full picture. I mean, with affordable housing, with what I did for, 11 years, it was frustrating. I would go into communities all over the state and it would be crazy. Like I would be in one community that you would think that, okay, they're going to be so excited to be getting apartments. And it was not subsidized housing. People did not understand it. And even when I would explain it, John, they didn't want to understand. Like they continued to think and I'm like, it's made me sad for that community. It's like, this is going to hurt your community because it would be a great thing to have an apartment development. It's for, working class, workforce housing. Some people just don't want to.
Yeah. And I think probably, and again, this is just me kind of coming into some of these things too. It's like, well, we want to hear the real stories about what is actually going on that is really, really good. There are some really good things.
Absolutely.
And I think that there are still underlying things that everyone kind of knows. And it almost feels like people don't want to acknowledge that. They just want to talk about what's good. And as just a citizen, what I would love to hear is, we've got some really big problems that we have to deal with, but here's what we are doing. Instead of going, really, you're looking at the wrong statistics. You should be looking over here. And I'm going, even if those statistics were true, I don't feel that. So I need someone to express that emotion with me. Hey, I would know why you feel this way. We don't do the best job at communicating what the stories are. And so here's where we want to land. These are the things that we are wrestling with. Absolutely. But here's the things that we're going on. So let's focus on those, but know that I hear you. Because it feels like there's this disconnect between the stories. And again, I'm just asking.
I'm not trying to put a plug for anybody, but like Councilmember Daryl Didell, he's not up for re-election or anything, but he came on to city council basically right after I left the city. So like, I didn't know him at all. And we interfaced with a few things. I actually did some work for New Horizons Habitat, and he was a new member on that board. This was a little over a year ago. And so, I like to know a person. I wanted to know about him. And so our experience just a little bit on there, I mean, I was in there as in a consulting capacity. And so, we kind of started understanding, kind of things that were important to him, things that were important to me, and established a relationship, a friendship, for lack of better words. We definitely, have more of a friendship now, but I got a phone call, and it was Dr. Fields, Pam Fields at South Georgia Tech. She said, hey, Daryl Didell really wants you to think about being on the Land Bank Authority. It would be really great. I said, absolutely. I know all about that. I mean, that's my wheelhouse, And so Jesse Smith, who was on we went to a housing summit. It was just a group of leaders, in my position with the chamber. It was, I Scott Carver, Jesse Smith, me, Sid Walker, Renee Smith, Tammy Pettyjohn Jones. I hope I'm not leaving anybody else out. Went over to Macon. Oh, Keith Nichols with Georgia Power went over to Macon for this housing summit, and all rode a bus together. And of course, I was talking with Mr. Jesse Smith. I did not know him. He's a county commissioner, and he was like, "You know a lot about housing." I said, "Well, yeah, kind of. It's been my thing for a long time." And so, lo and behold, I guess he had a conversation. Daryl Didell had a conversation with him. I'm on the Land Bank Authority now, so I say all that to say, Daryl has an open mind about certain things. He and I have, kind of talked back and forth like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'm encouraged by that, and I told him, I said, look, I know it's not fun right now with things that are going on, but you keep on, like, you want to do what's right for this community. And he does. And like I said, I'm not trying to plug him or anything. I'm just saying, it's hard, and I'm just glad that, they'll get through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and one of the things too that I've noticed is I love the fact that, we're not a community of these huge big box stores. And I understand why, because a part of it's a small town feel. I am glad that Walmart's here. I'm glad that Aldi's here. I hope, there was at one point Publix was thinking, we were like, oh man, that'd be great. So we're all about that. I worked
hard to get Chick-fil-A here, John.
Yeah, that's right.
Years ago.
So I'm all about that. But I also love the small town mom and pop shops. But one of the things that I've noticed is you've got to have a strong, city government and also even a chamber that helps fight for these mom and pops, because they don't know all the big box store stuff. They don't know about lawyers. They don't realize you can buy a building here for $70,000, but it's going to take $500,000 to get up to code. They don't know that.
Exactly.
So by the time that they build it, they have to sell it because they didn't know that.
That's right. And you've got
where are these advocates that are coming alongside of these mom and pop? Because if we're going to be mom and pop, that's great, but they don't know that. Well, they're not coming from all of these.
Again, I'm not trying to plug a business, but the Cuban restaurant over, near Shepherd House out on 27, they need a bigger space. Mm-hmm. And I didn't go in there and say, oh, I'm the new chamber president and CEO. Truly, my husband loves that place. He goes and eats there all the time. I don't go out and eat as much, but I saw that they needed, but they had no idea. I didn't even say, oh, I'm with the chamber. I wanted to help them. Mm-hmm. I was trying to see where's another location because they're a good business. And so, of course, I was making phone calls. My husband was trying to help. And we were like, what about Granny's Kitchen? What's going on out there? The old Granny's Kitchen. Well, that Perry Brothers I guess they were already starting to do some things, but that's my role. Yeah. That's what we should be doing. Yeah. Those of us that are in these positions trying to.
And it seems to me that that's more of a proactive approach to, hey, we want businesses to come here, not hear about a business that's starting 3 months later and go, okay, let's show up for the ribbon cutting.
John, a business retail index, business needs analysis. Yeah. They have not had one done since I was at the city. Mm-hmm. And I told the mayor this last year. I said, definitely need to have a business needs analysis done. And I think K1, I think there's something that's been done recently, but it basically tells you, hey, you do not need any more
X,
beauty
Y, and
salons.
Z. Yep.
You do not need any more whatever, but you do need a shoe store. I remember that was like one of the top needs. And I remember when I had a young entrepreneur who came into my office at the city, and he, just wanted to open a business, but he didn't really know what. And I said, how do you feel about a shoe store? Mm-hmm. And he did. He took over Jack Rose store and he ran it for several years. But I was like, I'm not telling you it's for sure going to be successful, but I'm going to tell you don't want to open a restaurant. Yeah. Those are hard, and he was like, I don't really know what I want to do. And he ran the business great.
Well, thinking about that, kind of going more towards the future of Americus, again, not just on the chamber, but just as an individual, as someone who loves this community, what are some things that you would assume, again, obviously it would be really great to do some surveys, get some more clarity on that. But in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you think Americus needs that it doesn't have now or can build on that it does have now that will really get us into that where we want to continue to grow?
Well,
and
I think there's a lot of different things.
Other than being on the same page communication wise.
Right. So, there's the business retail recruitment. Mm-hmm. Like I'm always looking for locations for like an IHOP. Mm-hmm. The property that
we need a breakfast place here.
Right.
For sure.
And we have a few, of course, out near the hospital, but I remember several years ago, I was gone from the city, but still my heart is like, this location would be so great for like an IHOP. It's now Mike's party center, but he relocated. I just thought that would be a great location. It's right, a major thoroughfare. Yep. I wasn't at the city, but I would have definitely been trying to call and say, hey, look at this. But I'm just glad that building was repurposed. I'm glad that Mike's that was on Tripp Street was repurposed because those are the things that make me worry when. And you probably don't know this, but where Napa Auto Parts is, that was old Harvey's. That was a grocery store location, John. Okay. It sat vacant for years. Big white elephant. Yep. And I was really pushing when I was at the city to get an ordinance passed about, if you have a certain square footage over, X number of years, it sits vacant, you either have to demolish it or you have to, open something. Yeah. We were never able to pass that ordinance. It was just a little bit sticky, but
Yeah.
I felt like it was needed.
But it's moved over now, right? So that's
Absolutely. I'm so glad that
and there used to be like a big shack or a building right behind 1800, right? Now that it became a parking lot.
Yes, they
right?
did.
Okay.
So, but like, the shopping mall, like the 1970s, those are a dying breed. Even like, where our Belk is currently.
Yeah.
There are a lot of empty spaces. That just that 70s.
Yeah.
It's a sadly it is. And so like, we've got to figure out what can we do.
Yeah.
Because, the people who, the developers, the real estate agents or whatever that have these big multiple spaces, they just want to fill it. They don't really care what goes in there.
Yeah.
And that's where the zoning piece becomes important. And I interfaced some of this when I was at the city as community and economic development director. There was, a business that wanted to locate in there and it was a non-traditional business. It was very contentious. And I'm like, we are looking for reasons to say yes. Not no. And
well, that's a great tagline. We're looking for reasons to say yes. I mean, because I've even looked at some of the history of Americus. And again, as I've noticed, man, there's been some really great, what I would call pioneer moments where people really stepped out, even with the chamber being one of the first in from Americus to go to the Georgia Chamber and say, hey, we need to do this. We need to make this happen. So Americus should be known and is known in many regards as a pioneering place of getting things done. But then there has been opportunities, and maybe it's because of like even with the mobile home business of that collapsing and things like it's maybe shaped us as a community to say, I don't know if we can trust in these big box stores to hold out, because what if they go, then we're all out. Well, and so I mean, but you've had things like P&G that came through.
I was
going
to say, and like
you've
Davidson Textron.
And then you had the Marine base that even considered, and it's just like, man, these are great opportunities that we passed on. So it's thinking, well, how do we say yes? Well, it may not have been the right thing for us,
John,
but what are we saying yes
like
to?
When our hospital was in limbo, there were people in the community that did not want to see it be a merge with Phoebe. I was like, if they don't, we are not going to have a hospital.
Yeah.
It is a must. So thank goodness, because we have, it's not brand new anymore, but I recruited several doctors who are from here to come back. That was like my big focus, and they're still here. A lot of them, at least 6 or 7 of them. I say all that to say, if you do not have a hospital in your community, and that is another huge economic engine in our community. I mean, one physician in a community brings an economic impact of over $1 million annually. People don't know that.
Yeah.
And so that's a industry that's not going away. Healthcare is not going away, and education is not going away. We have South Georgia Tech, Georgia Southwestern State University, and then we have a great Phoebe Sumter Medical Center. And you
mentioned, as you were before, when you were in that role, trying to make connections more with the college. Honestly, when I moved here 3 years ago, I thought there would be way more of a connection between downtown and the colleges, because I'm like, man, this is John. I'm surprised this is not a college town.
We had it going on.
I mean, So, and again, I mean, there's reasons why. Especially again, depending on, I think it was Georgia Southwestern was doing where they weren't doing any Friday classes for a while. And so that allowed students that were commuting to say, I'm just going to go home. So we were missing all of that.
Well, and that's where
all the funding
embracing the athletics at GSW is so important. I mean, and because we love sports, but it's a unifier in every respect. And we have great sports teams at GSW and at South Georgia Tech. Yeah. My dad brought back the basketball program when he became president. I mean, it was one of his biggest goals. I mean, they went to the national championship numerous years. Well, I've
seen both GSW and South Georgia Tech. I've seen their calendars. I mean, there's always something to do if we knew about it. In a sense that we should.
And these athletes are those that we would love to keep them here. Yes. And John, I cannot tell you how many would come talk to me at the city, because we also started an internship program when I was at the city. Again, another connector with the BCC. It was one of my college town initiatives, internship program where I would, businesses would say, hey, I would love to have an intern, not paid. Yeah. And we would place them. I had several at the city. There were a few at, I won't go into all the businesses that had them, but we probably had about 7, college students that we were placing at businesses for internships. And I do know that several of them materialized into permanent jobs. So that was the whole intent. It was a multifaceted, we want to keep these students here. And a lot of times these athletes are the ones that would come say to me, hey, Mandy, I really would love to stick around Americus, but I don't, what's there to do?
Yeah.
I know there are several athletes that actually taught at furlough.
Yeah.
And
so making those connections to say, hey, listen, if you can invest here for 2 or 3 years, you might stay here.
Right.
And so, okay, well, let me ask you, in light of that, we're talking about, again, a little bit of the future. Obviously, you're speaking in terms of, again, not just positivity, but like future perspective. We want to say yes to as much as we can. We want to see these things thrive. What can the community, what can leaders, what can businesses do to partner with you? Because we're talking about everyday neighbors. That's what we do, neighboring. How can neighbors get more involved in this future that you're speaking into right now?
Well, I mean, I think that, again, the chamber being the connector, having these conversations about our zoning plan, our future land use, like we need to go ahead and identify places in our community that we want to see developed a certain way. When I worked for the city, I was in charge of the cemeteries. I didn't realize that when I had my hand in a little bit of everything. The transit, I was in charge of the Americus transit, the cemeteries, supplies, insurance claims, downtown, a little bit of everything for sure. But Oak Grove Cemetery, it's like almost at capacity. Eastview Cemetery is beautiful. There are more spaces there as well. But, we need to designate a spot, for future. And I'm sad. I'm not trying to focus on the cemetery. I'm just saying future plans for our community. Like, what do we want to see and where do we want to see it? And it's very intentional planning, and we can do that. You can tell when there's communities that did not get that opportunity. They've grown too fast. I mean, I think they're seeing it with like this huge boom with up on I-20 with the Rivian plant. Like that community did not want that locating there, but it was the state said, nope, we're coming. And, they didn't get a choice. And so we have an opportunity to say, hey, this is where we would like to see this.
Yes.
Case in point, the old Americus High School property. Like it's like 37 acres, John. Like I don't think people realize that. Like and I know there was talk, I think the chamber was involved with some of that, but it was not, people were all on their own.
And I went to one of those meetings and it was very like, okay, well, we want to hear.
Sounds great, but.
And I still haven't heard anything from it. That's kind of one of those things. It's like, okay, we had this meeting. Everyone said a whole bunch of stuff, but I haven't heard anything about it.
That's where it becomes frustrating for our community.
Yeah, because we're like, we want to see this, whatever it is. I have opinions about what it should be, but I don't even know what you think it should be, let alone what's going to happen to it.
I made the comment. I was in a GSW facilities, kind of a brainstorming session that GSW, Dr. Johnston invited lots of community leaders and representatives to just kind of give input, just future planning about housing and things. And I brought it up then. I said, I'd love to see GSW get that property because we know they would do something great with it. And not that I'm against any private developer. We know that that would be a good, students could walk.
Glessner, right? Or what? Oh,
Glessner.
Like,
Glessner.
Straight down.
It's a straight shot. And it would be phenomenal. The old Dodson Street Hospital, I have grandiose plans for that place. And I've had them for years. I had the floor plans for a sorority house and it could work. I had a developer out of Atlanta who was down here in 2009. So literally like not a good time economically for our entire nation. And the numbers only worked for him if it was a sorority house. I'm like, wow. And then of course we had a roadblock with some things just with like, I won't get into it, but those are like the think outside the box.
I love that.
And it would be awesome. And it's already zoned for it. So nobody could say, no, that can't come. Like sorority houses are great. It's job creation. You have a house mother. You have
So coming into this, looking at that as a neighbor, I'm listening in. I'm
old
going,
okay. School.
I'm listening. I'm going, okay, what can I do? You have a goal. Let's just say if there was 100 businesses right now in the chamber, you want to see that 200, 300, maybe you've got some metrics, hey, within 90 days, within a year, we want to be here. So my as a neighbor, I want to say, okay, well, I want to try to help reach that goal. So if it's 200 by the end of next year, I want to be one of the 200. So, and I'm going to watch that. I'm going to, pay attention. I'm going to be a part of that. And so knowing that you have certain goals and metrics and that you're sharing with the community saying, hey, this is where we want to be because we want to get here. And then the other piece of that is that leadership development. So I should be asking into, hey, when you want to start that, how can I help? How can I get involved in
Absolutely.
that with students, right? So just trying to figure out the basic framework. And if there's anything else, as you're communicating those things, again, I know website and all that kind of stuff, it needs to be cleared up. So it's like goal number one is let me make sure that you have my number so that we can get in touch with you so that we can have these conversations.
I was so encouraged after the annual meeting.
Yep.
I had Synovus Bank, some of the they had representation there. They had not been they had not received an invoice in the past couple of years for their chamber membership. And so I made sure to get all that happen, get it to them. They attended the meeting. And then I had one of the guys he lives out of town. He sent me an email. Great meeting. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to be there. I would really, love to be considered to, serve on your board. I was like, yeah,
that's awesome.
Having a banker, especially with the financial, and of course I was transparent. I was like, I would love to have this. It's not my decision.
Yep.
I am on the nominating committee. We just, passed brand new bylaws, which will keep us more operationally sound. We have to really start from the basics and that's, the governance piece.
That's good. Yeah.
Because we weren't even abiding by our bylaws and they were all, Catherine, our board member who got up and talked, she's an attorney, thankfully we have her expertise, but she spent a lot of time, putting all this together. I did a lot of research. I called my buddy up in Murray County. I said, send me your bylaws, so we compared and,
that's awesome.
It takes a village in many respects. So.
Well, I do know this, that we're kind of coming to the close of the podcast time. And so what we normally like to do at the very end is actually get to do what we call quick kind of like rapid fire questions, get a chance to get to know you a little bit more. So that, as we make these connections. So I'm going to ask you a couple just quick questions, more like, not like yes or no questions, but just, you don't have to explain everything, but if there's something you want to really dive into, that'd be fine. But, all right. So you've worked at, a couple of different places. What's the best job that you've ever had?
Ooh. I'm going to have to go back to my first, at the city, working as the Main Street manager, downtown development director. I don't want to say it was the best job.
Yeah.
It's what really launched me into my passion and what I love about, the community. And, it was,
I love that. That. Okay.
It was a family, and I
all right. What is your favorite tradition or holiday?
I've got to go with Christmas, of course.
Okay,
and I like Easter too, honestly. So
it's coming up. When do you normally start putting out your Christmas, lights?
So my youngest daughter.
Are you a before Thanksgiving or an after Thanksgiving person?
After Thanksgiving.
Okay.
My youngest daughter, she's the only one in the family basically that was born in the fall. She was due November the 28th, and she actually came early. I had her November the 11th. So I get past her birthday and we get past Thanksgiving, and then I'm like, okay.
Yep.
But John, I try to get things up, and this is where my being spread too thin sometimes gets a little bit sticky. But yes, we have a tree up always.
There you go.
But it's been December 10th before when it's.
Love it. Love it. All right. So we normally ask people, are they a morning person or a night person? I feel like you're both.
I am. I'm definitely both for sure. I do tend to be more of a night owl sometimes, but I'm up in the morning and I'm chipper.
Yeah. Now, do you eat breakfast? Some people don't. I don't eat breakfast. I'm just kind of in and out.
I sleep so hard. My head hits the pillow. See you later.
Love that. Are you coffee or tea?
Mellow yellow.
Mellow yellow. Old school, a little kickback.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay. All right. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Ooh. I'd love to go to Italy.
Okay.
I think it would be beautiful. There's some islands in the Philippines that look so beautiful to me. Greece is another place that I would love to go and visit. Okay. I want to go to Wyoming. I want to go lots of places.
Yeah. Okay. Has there been anything that you've bought this year or in the previous, 2 or 3 years that you were really excited about getting it as a purchase, like just buying something that for yourself?
Well, when my dad passed away, his car,
Okay.
my brothers and my mother allowed me to buy
Oh, wow.
it. So I love that. That's probably my most favorite thing ever because like it still says he went by Sparky, but his first name was Gary Lamar Reeves. And so like, when I get in there, it says welcome Gary and it's got a picture of him and I in there. And so,
Okay.
I love that I have my daddy's car.
That's
and I know
awesome.
he loves that I have it too.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Okay. What about, what do you do to relax, to try to kind of get away, to kind of unplug? What does that look like for you?
I don't really know what that is to relax.
Yeah.
I love to go to the beach. My
Okay.
parents have had a condo down in Panama City since 1989. It's
Okay.
definitely like, I love the beach. I feel, of course I feel.
Are you the kind of person that just keeps going until they get sick and you're like, that's my time off? It's because I've worked and got.
No, I do. I do sometimes. Yes.
Burn yourself in a sense and like, okay, well, I'm going to have to take 2 weeks off now.
Like
but,
I'd get
but then I
burned
get back
out.
on. Yeah.
I don't ever like go away for 2 weeks. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm constantly kind of working and stuff, but I feel like I balance that pretty well.
Okay.
I mean, there were times that I did not. Like when my girls were little and I was working at the city as the community and economic development director and I had 3 to 4 meetings every week at night. It was
That's a lot.
difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
I definitely felt like I was not present for them in some ways. And I can assure you, my mom, she would say to me, you can't be missing out on all this, And my dad would say, I still have the voicemail message from him when I decided to leave the city to go take this other job. He was like, congratulations, but just remember to keep the family first.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah, that's great.
so that was like ingrained, and
That's a good thing
yeah.
for sure.
And I think it's good for my girls to see, you can have a career, but you also have to be present for all the things too.
That's right.
And
Yeah. What about favorite restaurant or cuisine that you like to eat?
so my mom and dad owned Captain D's for over 30 years. So
Okay.
they don't anymore, but we all had to work there. So I do love me some Captain D's, but I don't know, favorite restaurant.
Or just type of food? Do you have a certain?
I love pizza.
Okay. All right.
That's definitely my favorite food.
Okay.
I love all the pizza here, Pat's.
All right. Now, obviously, you do a lot of
Domino's.
work. I'm pretty sure you're on your phone. Your phone is probably pretty important to you. If you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which ones would you keep? What are the 3 apps that you just need?
I do Holy Bible everyday devotional. I would
Nice.
keep that one.
Okay.
I mean, I also do Rick Warren podcast. So I mean, I love that. I could care less about having the social media, to be honest. I mean, I'm trying to think what other app
Well, you need your phone app, right? Just the actual phone.
the
app to
actual
call
phone,
me-
I guess so.
to call
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But
That's a good one.
I mean,
What about email, text message? Do you need that?
maybe text message, maybe email, but like I'm one of those that, sometimes people will text me and I'll not respond. And I'm like, oh my God, you may know this, John.
You do pretty well. You actually do pretty well.
It's not that I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's just,
You're the kind of texter that you'll give like an emotion, or an emoji, and then you'll also give like a descriptor.
I give
which
too
I like.
much. I'm a very lengthy texter. My younger brother's like, Mandy.
Yeah,
you do
there's
not
only a
need
few
to
people
give
that I'm
me-
like, gives me a thumbs up and then explains. I'm like, okay, great. I get both.
I over-explain. I'm a communicator. That's that's, speech communications.
great.
And I feel like, I could probably be a therapist as well on the side because I do, I analyze and,
That's right.
I'm all the things. So
Love it.
yeah,
Well,
my brother will tell me, Mandy, you do not have to send me a dissertation when you send a text message. I'm like, well, I'm not going to
I
explain.
do that too,
I want
though.
to explain.
I
Just
do
like I
that
did to
too.
you the other day. I'm like,
I do.
okay, I don't want you
And
to
my
do-
phone is actually one of the Mac, so it's a little bit bigger, so it doesn't look as big on mine or long. And then I send it to my wife, and she has a smaller version of the phone, so it's like this. And I'm like, it did not look like that to me. So
Right.
it's kind of
Yeah, and I mean,
Like, all right,
there
I'm
will be.
sorry.
I've left my
Yeah.
phone before. Like we went to Osceola for Christmas,
Yeah.
and I left my phone accidentally because I'm sure I was running around like a crazy person trying to get everything in the car. And for the first like 10 minutes down the road, I was like, I really need my phone, Ryan. And he was like, it'll be okay. And then I was fine not having
Yeah.
it, which
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's pretty telling. Like there's my younger daughter has a few friends that they go to camp. In the summertime, for a month or whatever, they go and, there's no phones.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of the other girls will say, I do not know how they do that. Oh my God, it would stress me out. It's crazy because the girls that go, they love it.
Mm-hmm.
They love being
Yeah.
disconnected.
Yeah.
I mean, that says a lot to me. And so back to
We need to keep that.
the roots, like to me, like I also look at it as a learning experience that I don't have access to all these social media sites. I feel like it's almost a blessing because
Yeah. Yeah. You can be in the moment. That's which is really great.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do know that we need to get the phone situation fixed. And I have not forwarded all those phone calls to my personal cell phone because there's additional cell phone numbers that are tied to it. And I just, I'm being cautious for good reason. I'll say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Not, I'm just saying like, there's been some things, anyway.
Yeah. Well, Mandy, thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
joining
much,
us on the
John.
podcast. Love to have you on. I mean, there's so much stuff that you're doing and it's exciting and we want to get some updates. We want to do some
definitely
things.
like with the, leadership Sumter, youth leadership
Yeah.
Sumter, when we kind of get the ball rolling, I will tell you right now, I'm not going to come on and give you a bunch of fluff and tell you there's all this stuff that we're going to be doing when that's just not, I'm not, like I wanted to get involved with the chamber because I didn't want to see our chamber go away.
Yeah.
And, but it's still, we're going to get back sustainable and building back those memberships and,
Well, we're definitely going to want to be a part of that and continue to see what you're doing.
I'm so excited you are.
Yeah. And so let's continue to tell the stories that are actually happening in Americus and continue to move forward with all of those things. And we're going to be here for it. Absolutely. And encourage other people to do the same. So thank you so much.
Thank
and again,
you.
if you know anyone else that would be great for this podcast as a chamber member and say, hey, if you want to come on and tell their story, we'd love to support them as well. So thank you so much, Mandy.
Thank you, John.
All right.